Myself is Krishna. I work on data analysis project. One such project is Andhra Pradesh government recent launch of service delivery via WhatsApp. It is named as Manamitra. It is mainly intended for the citizens. In this video, I am going to discuss in detail about this new service delivery platform. AP state government has launched citizen services through Manamitra from 1st February 2025. Initially, as part of this Manmitra, government has launched 161 civil services. In future, it is planning to increase these services to 300 plus number. To avail these services, citizen doesn't need to install any app from the Play Store or from any third party. Any citizen has to save a phone number named 95523000009 in the WhatsApp and type hi. Once we type hi, immediately service choosing option pops up along with the language preference as we can see here. Once we choose the language, it goes to the next screen mentioning the kind of service. Once we select the service, it shows the number of departments, and once we get deep into it, each department and the number of services available via WhatsApp for the particular department as shown here. So, the most important part of the analysis is the KPI. What are KPIs? KPIs are nothing but the key performance indicators. So, the KPIs of this video is the total number of service requests generated till so far, as well as the total revenue generated from services, the top 10 departments as the services or revenue, and the WhatsApp rollouts of services, inference from the previous data in order to roll out the maximum number of services and revenue generation via WhatsApp. For data analysis, data is collected from a portal named vsws.ap.online.ap.gov.in. So, this portal has been used as a service delivery from the past 3 to 4 years. So, the maximum amount of data is available in this portal. Upgradation of services from this AP server to the WhatsApp is a main theme of this project. As we can see here, there are different services available, and these different services for different departments are delivered using this portal, like Revenue Department, Consumer Food and Civil Supplies Department, Health and Family Welfare Department, Municipal Administration and Urban Development. Different services are delivered using AP Server portal, and this portal has been used from October 2019 to till date. This is the data source for our current analysis. By collecting data from different dashboards like AP Server Services Dashboard, AP Server Payments Dashboard, and Analytics Dashboard, this current analysis is done in this video. So here we can see AP Server Services Dashboard and the total service requests raised from AP Server since its inception of all the 26 districts in Andhra Pradesh. In this slide, we can see that the different number of services delivered in VSWS from 2019 October to March 31st, 2025. In this, we can see that there are around 96 million service requests has been raised from 2019 to March 2025. And for this 96 million service requests, around 15,267.34 million revenue has been generated and reconciled. Out of this, 28 million requests are with 0 rupees. As a result, these service requests does not collect any amount. Some of these requests include pensions, Suraksha token registrations, and job seeker registration. Also, we can see that there is a correlation of total services requests generated in different districts, and on summation of this, we get around 96 million. Similarly, the total revenue reconciled of around 15,267 is also been correlated with the above data, and all the amount revenue generated has been reconciled via different portals like BillDesk, ICICI, and UPI. Out of this, the maximum portion has been reconciled using BillDesk. The data analysis for the project is done using a software named Microsoft Power BI. BI means Business Intelligence Tool. Here we can see whenever we want to do any data analysis, we need to have a data via different means. Here I have collected all the data and saved the data in a workbook named VSWS, and this workbook has different tables collected from different dashboards of around 6 to 7 number of tables, and interrelation between these tables can be seen in Power BI. Here we can see that there are around 26 number of districts. The service request generated by each district as well as revenue reconciled. Also, this part of this project is called report view, and in general the report view as the area in which the dashboard is created is called canvas. These are visualizations tool, and these are data tool where mostly the measures for in different tables will be written. Also there is a filter view in which we can keep different filters of our dashboard visualizations. Also there are different visualizations in this Microsoft Power BI of pie chart, donut chart, as well as table chart, as well as filtering chart, of waterfall funnel chart, waterfall chart, and different number of visualization tools are available in order to represent our data. This is a table view. These a report view of the tool. This is a table view of the tool. In table view, we can see different columns of our Excel workbook, and this is called model view, in which the relation between different tables can be seen here. These are one to one relationship. These are one to cardinality. This is called the cardinality one to one or one to many relationships, as well as the primary key and foreign key. The relationships are generally done automatically by the Power BI based on the primary key and foreign key concept, as well as the common name in different tables. So, as part of our analysis, if we want to know the revenue generated for each district, we can simply do it with a single click. Once we click on a particular district, we can know the total revenue generated as well as reconciled. So this is the biggest advantage of using this Power BI tool. In the coming slides, we are going to know about the total revenue generation based on the services, the total service requested generated, as well as the service request with the maximum revenue. Let's get a look into those. The present slide illustrates the districts with the maximum service request generated, as well as the districts with the maximum revenue generated. Here we can see that the districts with the maximum service request generated here is the Prakasam district, whereas the district with the maximum revenue generated is West Godavari. Also we can see that in case of service request, this West Godavari comes third in number, whereas in case of revenue, it is coming first in number. So here from this we can conclude that the total number of service requests doesn't reciprocate the total revenue generation. So there is no direct relationship between the service request as well as revenue generated. This is because some kind of services has less amount of chalan amount, whereas some kind of services has most amount. For example, an integrated certificate collects around 50 rupees, whereas an encumbrance certificate collects around 250 rupees. So from this we can infer that the service request and the revenue generated are not directly proportional. So in the coming slides, we are going to look into the total number of service requests generated based on revenue wise, as well as the top 10 districts in terms of service request, as well as top 10 districts in revenue generation. This is because we are not getting clear picture of all of the top districts which are doing services as well as revenue. Here we can see the total number of service requests generated as well as revenue generated. Once we click on a particular card, we can see the this card is based on which table. So once we can see here the service request generated. So this card is related to the table name payment underscore exception, as well as the measure name district based service request. So we write the measure. This is the other part. Once we write the measure, we are going to drill down of deep into it, because the service request generated of 26 districts. If we further drill down, we get the mandal wise. and if we further drill down, we get the secretariat wise. So mandal wise to secretariat wise. So we are not going to have a clear cut picture of what happening inside. So we are going to discuss deep into it of the top 10 service requests as well as top 10 revenue generation. Similarly, when we click here, we can see the total revenue reconcile. This style is based on the measure name total revenue reconcile. Here also we are drilling down as well as drilling down. Initially, we have the districts of all the 26 districts, and the revenue generation can be seen here at the end of this bar chart. So once we drill down, we can see the revenue generated in ascending order depending on the mandal wise data. Initially, we have district wise data, you can see here, and later we have mandal wise data, and further we go deep into it. We have secretariat wise data, which means out of the whole 26 districts, the secretariat with the maximum revenue generation. Here also, we go deep into it, the out of the whole 26 districts, the secretariat with the maximum number of service requests is the GVMC. And similarly, if we go further deep into it, so the mandal and the secretariat wise, yeah, the mandal with the maximum secretariat, maximum number of service requests, and later the secretariat with the maximum number of service requests. Going deep into it, we are not going to get clear understanding. As a result, we are going to calculate only the top 10 service requests as well as top 10 revenue generation in the further slides. So in this slide, we are going to see the top 10 districts in terms of service requests as well as the top 10 districts in terms of revenue generation. As we have discussed earlier, the service requests are not reciprocating the revenue generated. Also here we can see 13.39% of service request generation of Prakasam does not is not reciprocating to revenue generation because 10% service request generated by West Godavari topping in the revenue generation in of around 13%. So the 10% service request they generated revenue of 13.84%. Also, we can also infer more because the service request most of the time these services are delivered via village and ward secretariat system. So here we can see a B.R. Ambedkar Consumer District, one secretariat named Tanalanaka. This secretariat has delivered maximum amount of service requests, whereas it is the this secretariat although this secretariat has delivered maximum amount of service requests, the district is not in any of the top 10. So also a single secretariat performance does not make the district to stand in top. So an overall collective performance only makes the district to be in the top 10 in terms of revenue, where also in terms of services too. So from this we can see that mostly number of service request generation is not reciprocating to the most number of revenue generation. In the coming slides, we are going to see which service request has generated maximum revenue. In this current slide, we can see the total number of top 10 districts in terms of service request generated as well as top 10 districts in terms of revenue generated. So we can see the districts with the districts as well as here the districts with the maximum number of service request generated is Prakasam Bapatla. Here goes with 13.39% to 8.73%. Out of 26 districts, these 10 districts performed well. So similarly, we can see that although the district has performed well, this doesn't mean that the secretariats in the secretariats of all the secretariats in these districts performed exceptionally well. So there are some secretariats which performed exceptionally well. They stood in the total. They stood top in the total service request, but that doesn't district doesn't make it to the top 10. Here we can see although Guntur stood around eighth position, whereas the secretariat in a Guntur named Kolipara stood in second position in terms of service requests generated. Also, if we want to know the total service requests of individual district, we can do this by using drill down concept. So once we click on the particular district, so here we click on the particular district, and these are the total number of mandals as well as urban local bodies in this Prakasam district. And that although there are around 10 to 20 or 20 to 30 numbers of secretariats as well as mandals in this particular district, only the top 10 will be shown here. Similarly, there is a relation, there is called an edit interactions. So this table, this graphic will automatically interact with this graphic as well as this graphic too. So once I click Prakasam here, the top 10 districts the top 10 secretariats in the Prakasam which has performed well in terms of service request, as well as the total top 10 in terms of revenue generation. And this shows that we are showing the Prakasam district. Now if we want to go back, we simply drill up. So similarly Bapatla. So he can see the top 10 Bapatla service request, the top 10 Bapatla revenue generation, as well as here also we can see that the Karapalam's Mandal and the Karapalam Secretariat is topped in service request. Whereas in case of revenue generation, it is around fourth position or fifth position. So the similar happens with the revenue generation too. Once we click the particular district, the same thing happens as well as vice versa. So all these are called edit interaction. With using edit interactions option, tables communicate between each other, and we can see wonderful and beautiful visualization of different tables using drill up and drill down. We can dive deep into from district level to mandal level to secretariat level of total service requests generated and total revenue reconciled and generated using with this secretariat system. So here we can see the total number of service requests generated from in AP Seva from 2022 to 2025. Also the total service requests approved as well as rejected. And the approval ratio we can see that there is a high amount of approval ratio of around 96%, as rejection ratio of around 3.73% of these 3 to 4 years. Whereas here we can see that in case of WhatsApp, the total number of service requests generated is around 31,000 service requests. Also, the approval ratio is 85% only. This means that there's more amount of rejection ratio in WhatsApp compared to the approval ratio. Also, we can see that the top 10 services delivered in department wise, the revenue department has topped in terms of service delivery. Among services in revenue department, integrated certificate top with and as well as the electricity bill payment top the second one, and income and ROR 1B Adangal, computerized Adangal, all, and as well as Aadhaar, civil supplies. So these are the top 10 services which topped in terms of service requests. We in the next coming slides we are going to look into whether the service request generated reciprocated the same in terms of revenue or not. In the current slide, we are going to see the total number of departments, the total services available in these departments, the total service requests, as well as the total revenue generated using the service request. As we can see here, the most of the service requests, electricity bill payments topped in terms of in terms of revenue generation, whereas the service request, it is not the top. Here, the service request generated is the top by integrated service request, whereas LCD bill payment it comes under second position, whereas the service request and revenue generation does not correlate vice versa. Also, we can see different departments of around 20, these 34 departments are available filter wise. Whenever we click on this particular department, we can see the total number of services as well as the total service request and the revenue generated in each department in further slide. Here we can see the correlation of 96 million with this 96 million and the 15 billion 15.39 and 15.4 billion. The sum of all the the sum of the revenue of all the service requests can be seen here. So here we can see that these 36 number of departments, and each department has different number of services. Although the different number of services, it is not mandatory that all the services are useful to the public. Only few services are mostly used by the public. Let's take a look by clicking on each department. So if we go for bill payment services, so here we can see that the bill payment services has the maximum amount of service requests around 15 million, 60, close to 16 million, and the maximum revenue generated. Although there are four number of services in this department, but the revenue generation is very high, which means that this is the most important service which has to be provided in WhatsApp. Similarly, we can see the energy department, which has less, although it has less number of service requests, the revenue generated is high. Similarly, we can see the GSWS department. So here we can see the revenue generated is less, but the service required is more, because we can see that the maximum number of service requests generated has no money. It has zero amount for the service generated. Similarly, For the revenue department, we can see that there are around 138 services in revenue department. Different services, which means that it has the maximum amount of services available online for the public, for the citizen. As a result, the service requests are also huge. As we can see here, 64 million, as well as the revenue generated is also huge in this past 4 to 5 years. So these different kinds of service requests, when arranged in ascending order, we can see based on service request as well as revenue generation. So integrated certificates topped in case of revenue generation. Um, Similarly, when we change to registration and stamp department, although it has certain number of services, the revenue generation is high. So this particular slide lets us know, even when we click on the slide, we know we can see that it is related to AP Seva service revenue was stable, and the total number of services and the total revenue generated can be is done using a measure named total revenue service using a sum function, as well as some service requests are also generated using a sum function, and a data hierarchy has been created. And so different service requests and the revenue for each services can be seen in this slide. In the previous slide, we have seen the different departments, the services available in different departments, the revenue generated in different departments, as well as the revenue generated in different services. In the present slide, we are going to discuss only the top 10 services with maximum revenue generation. Here, the electricity bill payment has stopped in terms of revenue generation. Proportional to it, it does not top in terms of service request, as we have discussed previously in many slides. Similarly, the water tax and the property tax, it comes in the order. It comes in the order of ascending. So this department and this service has stopped in first number, and this one is comes on the 10th number. Whatsoever the maximum number of the maximum revenue generation, and these top 10 services has to be compulsorily included in WhatsApp for maximum services as well as maximum revenue generation. Based on the data from the previous slide, we are going to look into the total number of WhatsApp services has been generated from the past 1 or 2 months. Here from the data, we can see that the maximum number of service requests has been raised in from only 3 departments. Among this, revenue has stopped in total number of service request generation. Later to it, the registration stamp department of marriage certificate service. After that, it is the Vaidya Seva card of health and family department. So from the previous slide, we can see that although most number of services are included in WhatsApp, most of the services are getting rejected. We have to take a better understanding of the reason for the rejection and provide an easy access to the public for better approval of the kind of service they have requested for. Also, we can see that from all the previous slides, the energy services has to be compulsorily included in WhatsApp, as well as integrated services with faster approval rate has to be compulsorily rolled out in WhatsApp services. The category A services, the bill payments, tax payments, and all the 15-minute service stopped in revenue generation, whereas revenue service and energy service topped in category B. For successful WhatsApp services rollout in terms of revenue as well as service generation, it is recommended to bring maximum number of services under category A, which means the 15-minute service, which does not require any other official to authenticate your service request. Also, in order to reduce the rejection ratio, it is useful to include the service with existing Aadhaar as well as Digi Wallet IDs for citizen for a fast closure of the service as well as the efficient delivery of the service to the citizens. Thank you.